going on, everybody? I want to welcome you back to Knicks Deli. The Detroit Pistons are hoping to bait and provoke the New York Knicks into losing their cool, and we're here to talk about it here at Knicks Deli. In this series so far, a strange and dangerous thing is starting to reveal itself around these Detroit Pistons. They're not coming to beat the New York Knicks at this point in the series with beautiful basketball. They're coming to try to break the Knicks mentally. We've seen it with Malik and Brunson. And even sources are close to the Pistons locker room. They're suggesting that Detroit's real game plan isn't just about X's and O's. It's about chaos. It's about baiting the New York Knicks. It's about turning every possession into a street fight and hoping that the New York Knicks, with this newfound expectation, lose their composure and desperation kicks in. If you're expecting Detroit to match the New York Knicks' firepower with clean execution, efficient offense, half-court discipline, you need to think again. They don't necessarily have that talent. The plan now is to disrupt, to agitate, and to antagonize. The Pistons are fresh off of a loss. Now they're suddenly on with urgency now that they know that they can't out-talent the New York Knicks. They also know that Tom Thibodeau's Knicks thrive when we play on our own terms, when we're physical, when we're relentless, but when we're still controlled. So the plan for the Detroit Pistons is pretty simple at this point. Overfoul early and often. Make every Jalen Brunson drive feel like a collision with a linebacker. Trash talk on every dead ball. Chirp at Brunson, chirp at Towns, push them around, try to get OG Anunoby, get under their skin. Throw cheap shots under the rim after missing a shot and then argue. This is our style of basketball. A shove here, a nudge there. There's nothing too blatant, just enough to build frustration. Damn, I'm spitting. Flop theoretically on defense, just to bait offensive fouls. Hard double teams at weird times just to disrupt New York's rhythm and lure them into rushed decisions. They want to muddy the waters on us. They want to muddy this game. They want to slow it down. They want to frustrate the refs into letting them play, because an ugly, chippy game favors the Detroit Pistons. All right? Now, if we're being honest, it's smart. I mean, it might work if the Knicks let it work. The Knicks' emotional leaders are Josh Hart, Karl-Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby. All have a tendency, all have a tendency, though, to get wrapped up in a moment. Josh Hart, you already knows, plays with a knife's edge. Karl-Anthony Towns, even now, can spiral after a bad whistle or a few rough plays. OG, he's steely, but still he's not invulnerable to cheap fouls and cheap shots by the other team. The Knicks have mastered their zen in this series, though. And if Detroit can lure these guys into technical fouls, frustrated fouls, mental errors, then they can level the playing field with the New York Knicks. And the Knicks know this. So even Jalen Brunson, who is about as composed as a playoff point guard can be, in the past, he's shown flashes of boiling frustration when games can get overly physical, without whistles. Now, in this series, though, he knows what Detroit's game plan is, and he's not falling for it. This isn't about playing better basketball. It's about making the game mind over matter. So the Knicks counter in this way. They practice the poise over punishment. Tom Thibodeau knows this. He's seen these tactics before. Hell, in fact, he's taught a few of them back in his days in Chicago and in Boston. The Knicks try to key. The Knicks' key in trying to avoid this trap is this: win the game, not the argument. If a Detroit player cheap shots you, don't retaliate. Score on them, and we've seen this already. We're going to have to trust the refs, even when it's hard. We're not going to get every call, but forcing the Detroit Pistons into obvious frustration plays will eventually tilt whistles in our direction. They're young. So we got to remember that. We got to remember to have a discipline over emotion. Detroit, put it this way, every trash talk moment can be a transition 3 for us. And if the Knicks stay locked into just focusing on basketball, we have too much talent, too much depth, too much shot making to be beaten by a team trying to start a fist fight every possession. But if the Knicks succumb to it, and if we get dragged into the mud, into a war of words, elbows, cheap shots, cheap fouls, anything can happen. And that's exactly what the Detroit Pistons are hoping for. So Knicks fans, remember this. It is key for the New York Knicks not to be the Knicks of the 90s and take the bait. Detroit's gambit is obvious. The question is whether the Knicks, with all of our veteran poise and Tom Thibodeau's playoff experience, if we're ready to rise above it all. This series won't be decided by skill alone. It's going to be decided by composure. It's going to be decided by discipline. It's going to be decided by who can keep their head when everything around them is designed to take it off. If the Knicks remember who we are, then we'll stop out the Pistons. Oatmeal pies, antagonize, visualize, Knicks in 5. If we forget, and if we start playing Detroit's game, it might be a longer, uglier series than anyone in New York wants to admit. What do you think? Keep this in mind. Thing applies, the life that applies to our team. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. But also remember this, whether it's out there in Detroit or here in these YouTube streets, here in Knicks Deli, everybody eats. I'm your boy Sheer, and I'm out. Peace.